Shalom, shalom. All praise be to the Most High. I'm back with a quick video by request. This video is going to just be tips on being submissive. And I got this request a few days ago in the comment section of another video. So I'll go ahead and get into that. So the first thing I'd say explicitly for myself is that how you view submission is half of the battle. So if you look at it as just being told what to do, you're bound, and somebody is just ruling over you, this is some type of slavery deal or something like that, then it's already going to be more hard. It's going to be harder and more frustrating than it actually needs to be, because submission is obedience. So first and foremost, if you're obedient to the Most High, then submission is fairly, I don't want to say easy, but I'll say you're used to it. If you're, obedient to the Most High and you live your life like that every day to the best of your ability, then you're already acclimated to what that entails. So you'll be able to operate effectively in that. And of course, we all are in different places in our walk and journey and things like that. So obedience in the scripture tells us is better than sacrifice to the Most High, and even in terms with your spouse. I'll give an example. So as opposed to cooking every night, things you want to cook or are easy to cook but that your husband may not like, then you could maybe meal prep some things that he does like, so that way if it takes more time or whatever, make it easier on yourself, but you're also doing it effectively so that it's not a battle with what's being prepared. So that was just a small quick example of that. So because submission is obedience, it requires obedience first to the Most High and then to your spouse. So if you look at Galatians 5:22-23, it lists the fruits of the Spirit, and you can kind of gauge how you conduct yourself every day, how you're doing and things like that, by examining yourself against what the fruits of the Spirit are. And temperance, which is self-control, is very important. So if you're not being loving, long-suffering, kind, gentle, goodness, meekness, patient, joy, all of those things. Because even being joyful, rejoicing in the good things, being grateful, thankful, to the Most High for your husband and things like that, that helps all of that be easier. So you have your submission aspect in ways that you can kind of just self-reflect and kind of monitor yourself. That way you can kind of see how you're measuring up to those things. So you have the fruits of the Spirit, and then in James 1:19-20, it says, be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath, because our wrath is not pleasing to the Most High. So that means, and I'll go through the list. Okay, so first I have be quiet, be humble, be patient, be thankful, be peaceful, and listen. So that'll go to the aspects of being quiet and listening, which is the first and last one. But with the mouth, with your tongue, there are various steps you can implement into making sure you're not overstepping your boundaries or crossing the line, especially unnecessarily. So I'll get to that, but just keep in mind James 1:19-20. So the first thing you should ask yourself when you're speaking is if you're being respectful, because if you're being disrespectful out the gate, you just shouldn't even say anything. You don't want to operate out of anger or emotion and tear down your spouse or add flame or fuel to the flame, fuel to the fire. Like, you want to remain blameless in all of it. So ask first and foremost if you're being respectful with what you're saying, and ask yourself, is it necessary to be said in this moment? Is it something that can wait, that can be communicated later once things have de-escalated and things like that? Is it edifying, or is it just critical criticism? There are times where, as women, we can identify things and see areas of opportunities, but you don't want to be overly critical about it, because first and foremost, we have to remember, and this will go into being humble, that we're all still being perfected. But you want to be sure you're not speaking out of anger and emotion, so it should be factual and then also edifying, not just, you're horrible at this and you suck at this or whatever, but have something to bring to the table to help aid whatever it is. So putting all of these thoughts and practices in your mind prior to opening your mouth will definitely make it will bring submission into play, and it'll definitely make whatever you say more impactful and positive overall, as far as the outcome, the conversation, and everything else. Okay, so all right, we have be quiet, because you have to think before you speak, and then we should be humble and remember that we're only perfect through the Spirit of the Most High, and we're still being perfected, which is where that patience comes in. Because even if you feel, and it may be very well true, that you're a little farther along or deeper into that connection, which allows you to more easily be obedient to the Most High, He had patience with us, so we should have patience with each other, especially our spouses, because none of us in ourselves are righteous or perfect. Our righteousness comes from the Most High. So that's what makes us perfect, so to speak. So you have to make sure and that's where the obedience comes in. You're being obedient to the Most High, so you can operate in that perfection and use discernment on not to be puffed up in the situation and really feel like, oh, I'm, right, or I have the authority over this subject or matter because I'm more knowledgeable about it. It shouldn't be a fight. It shouldn't be a battle, not even a debate, because when it comes down to being obedient to the Most High, you're obeying scriptures. Like, you're debating scripture. That's that's totally off. You might have to agree to disagree and pray for discernment and understanding for your spouse, even for yourself, because maybe you're the one who's really off, and there's that. So I can only speak hypothetical because I don't have any specific instances to speak to, but I'm just giving examples for now. So be quiet, be humble, be patient, be thankful, and appreciate your head. Appreciate your covering. Appreciate your spouse in word, thought, and deed. That also makes submission easier. Be peaceful. The first thing we need to address is our attitudes and how we view submission. If we view it as a dictatorship and being ruled over and everything like that, then it'll be negative from the beginning. It's a struggle from the beginning. You feel oppressed from the beginning. But when you understand that even your spouse is subject to obedience, when it comes to the Most High, then you understand you're both being submissive and He's your covering. So your job is not to combat him, but to enforce whatever you're in agreement with. And if you're not in agreement with something, then that's something that needs to be respectfully revisited, discussed. Bring all of the facts, all of the precepts, all of the knowledge to the table, and then reason righteously together with that. Okay. And then, okay, so you address your attitude and then you address the situation. So if you're just like not even in the mood to deal with it, don't. If you're not open to maybe waiting to say something, don't even engage in the conversation if you don't have to, because above all, you want to remain blameless in the situation. And then listen, because you can't spend your time wanting to respond and you're not even listening and taking in what's being said. Sometimes you can just hear out your spouse and then take time to gather your thoughts, get all your emotions compartmentalized and deal with all of that stuff, and then you can come back and deal with it. I recommend that as much as possible, especially if things need to be de-escalated. But if it's in the thick of the moment, then you go back to, are you being respectful? Is what you're saying facts? Is it true? And then is it edifying? Can it wait? Do we have to do this right now? And a lot of times we don't. We're just not choosing. We're not making wise decisions based on the heat of the moment and our emotions in the moment. And I'll bring out Proverbs 14:1, which says, "A very wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands." And if you look into the Hebrew 30:27, it goes into your power, your direction. And then it also says terror. So hands, the word hands in Hebrew in this scripture is linked to terror. So you don't want to terrorize anyone, let alone your head, when it comes to how you speak, when it comes to being submissive. Because, yeah, that's just way out of line. So it really comes down to self-examination. That's first and foremost. Am I being obedient to the Most High? And then why? We have to look at why it's a struggle for submission to come out. Is it a self-control issue? Is it not being on one accord issue? Like, get to the root cause of it and then work from there. Don't work from your emotions and then just spew whatever it is out of your mouth, terrorizing your covering your husband and subsequently everybody else. But if it's a lack of self-control issue, I'm sure it's not just with one person. So definitely have to examine ourselves, refocus our thoughts. The scripture in Ephesians, where it says, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. All of those things that are good, lovely, of good report, those things, we have to change our mindsets. Once you change the way you think, it'll change the way you respond. It'll change your actions. It'll change your speech. Everything will just kind of be redirected. So we have to have a positive outlook on what submission really is, because it starts with the Most High. And then we subject ourselves one to another. But make sure that respect is there, that honor is there, and get to the root causes of the issues and work from there. So that's all I have for now. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave that in the comment section. And most happy and blessings to you and your households. Shalom.